It's the 2 Minute Drill podcast. I'm Jim Monahan along with Chris Swendeman. Swendeman, I'm afraid to ask, what are you doing?
I'm practicing my rowing. Team Norway, baby. Here we come. I'm all Team Norway now.
Following the elimination of the United States men's team at the hands of Belgium on Monday night. Well, boy, that was much ado about nothing, wasn't it?
Oh, was that ugly? I was out actually at a sports bar in East Rutherford with two of my very good friends, and the place was packed. Everybody was, you could feel the excitement. The excitement left the room 1 minute into the match because I think everybody saw the same thing. And within 9 minutes and the first goal by Belgium, I mean, it just deflated every hope that I think every U.S. soccer fan had, because after that, it was just downhill from the minute, the first minute of the game, and it just went downhill from there really quick.
I thought the United States team was flat. They looked like they weren't prepared for it. I don't know how they couldn't be. Obviously they had performed well up to this point. They had their big scorer back, Flo Balogun, thanks to a phone call from President Trump to the head of FIFA. He was a non-factor. What, did he touch the ball once? He was a non-factor in that game last night.
Yeah, for all the hype and all the news media, 24 hours, you prepare one way, I guess, and then you get your star player back. And, for all the hoopla that surrounded Team USA leading up to the game, because the big news that he was allowed back, I would have thought that momentum would have carried them into a positive light for the game, and it just seemed to be a detractor. Maybe you prepare one way and they were preparing without him and then had to switch gears. But either way, I think it's kind of the responsibility partially falls on Pochettino, their coach, for not having them prepared, because from the onset, from the first minute to the end of the match, this team did not look like they were ready to play a really good club in Belgium.
His future, by the way, is up in the air. We're not sure if he's coming back to coach the United States men's team. And speaking of teams being prepared, it appeared that Belgium had two game plans, one that included Balogun and one that didn't include Balogun, because they were totally ready for what the United States did on Monday night.
I mean, their schemes, they were well coached, well prepared, and their players executed, to a T. When you have the first 9 minutes, and I mean, that was like a tap-in goal. This was domination by Belgium. It wasn't like, it's such a heartbreaking loss. There was never a minute other than when Team USA scored to tie it 1-1. Now you have momentum going in your favor. Belgium wiped that out within a minute and got it back to 2-1. After that, I mean, if you went into the half tied 1-1, I think you're feeling pretty good, with a team like Belgium. And you didn't play your best. And the USA, characteristically speaking, throughout this tournament, early on, they were scoring most of their goals in the early onset. Like their play early in the first half of their matches had been really, really strong. So they came out weak and they never really got better. And, the one goal they did get was actually on a tip by the head of a Belgian player. Still, you score how you score. It was 1-1, but Belgium, like that, came right back, wiped it out, 2-1, and the momentum right back to Belgium. And I don't think they ever came back after that.
And fans were watching and, knew what had happened with the red card to Balogun, which later, we think, courtesy of a phone call by President Trump to the head of FIFA. We're not sure exactly what the content of that conversation was. The call was questionable to begin with. There's no doubt about it. 100%. It's not the first time that FIFA has changed a call like this. If you remember back to November of 2025, Cristiano Ronaldo from Portugal, when in a match against Ireland, he had a similar situation, and they reduced his suspension. However, I don't think the Prime Minister of Portugal made a phone call to the head of FIFA to do that. But the whole thing surrounding Balogun was really questionable. It was a video review, and you're thinking, really, if I have to look that hard, maybe this call shouldn't have been made in the first place. Right. But if you are one of the, we need to keep politics and sports separate. Well, a
Right.
couple of things happened over the past few days. One of which is birthright citizenship is right smack dab in your face, courtesy of Balogun, born here in the
Right.
United States.
Right.
His mom couldn't get on a flight to get back to her home country, so he's born in Brooklyn. So there's that. And then you have President Trump inserting himself into this whole thing with a phone call. And again, we don't know what the contents of that
Right.
phone call were to the head of FIFA, but boy, is it a bad look.
Yeah, especially, and on top of everything, you're the host country. So it's like you're calling as, the head of our country, the president, and, where it's being held. It just, it screamed like almost like sour grapes by us, but like for preferential treatment. Hey, by the way, we're the host country kind of thing. And it's just not a good look. I mean, but it wasn't a good situation all around. So I feel like it was almost like, you know, tit for tat kind of thing, which I don't think he should have been red carded in the first place. So, you know, kind of just worked itself out and let's move on. And it wound up not mattering anyway because he didn't play well. Belgium used it. I don't know if Belgium used it as motivation or not, but they sure came out ready to play. They drowned out all of the noise leading up to the game, even though they did chirp a little bit and say they were going to try to do everything in their power to see if, you know, the uplifting of the suspension could be reversed, or I guess a double reverse at that point. But they just wiped it all out and played good soccer, and they won the match. I mean, you got to, you know, take your hat off to them, tip the cap, and they're moving on.
And here in the United States, well, NFL training camps open in a few weeks, so our focus will be turning to that.
Exactly. Next.
One football or another, depending upon what you
Right.
call it.
Exactly.
Sports. Let's turn our attention to the Yankees. A week ago, the Yankees were coming off a sweep by the Boston Red Sox, and yours truly said it's a blip on the screen. And a week from now, we'll be saying the Yankees have turned things around because they had the Tigers and they had the Twins, and they go out and they promptly get swept by Detroit and they lose the series to Minnesota. And I'm looking at this thing going, you've got to be kidding me. And I know some fans are calling this the annual Boone June swoon as we head late June into early July. But it's so much more than that. It really is. It speaks, and we've talked about this with the Mets, and we've talked about it with the Red Sox. It speaks to who's putting the roster together. And that's not Aaron Boone. And I know he's taking a lot of heat from fans right now, and we're going to get into some of it with Anthony
Right.
Volpe in a second. But it goes beyond him. And I think the mantra is make the postseason. We'll take it from there because the postseason is a crapshoot. We know that. But
Right.
I think that's it. And the Yankees are going to make the postseason, barring a horrifically bad collapse. They're going to be a wild card team. I mean, they're up, 4 over Cleveland in the loss column right now. They're up 5 over Texas. And then the other teams that are below those three, it's like 8, 9 games in the loss column. So again, it would be a collapse of unbelievable proportions for the Yankees to not make the wild card this year.
Yeah, and I mean, as we're speaking about this and doing this episode, they're in the middle of playing a series with first place Tampa, and they just beat them 5-1 last night. Thank you, Cam Schlittler, for taking the ball and making sure you gave them some great pitching last night. But Tampa doesn't really scare me. The rest of the AL, for the most part, doesn't scare me that much. It's the Yankees play in general. It's the play of what we've talked about, the 7, 8, 9 hitters, the Volpes. And, Volpe obviously is, right at Yankee fans' top of the list of people to point the finger at. But, you and I were talking before we started. Austin Wells is the next one that, hi, AAA, here's a bus ticket. Go work out what you need to work, because he is just abominable right now. I mean, he's just got nothing. He looks lost at the plate, and every team that they play knows it. When he comes up, there's your out. and you just can't. You can't have that in this lineup right now. Between Volpe and him, they're just killing it. They're just killing any momentum when it gets to the bottom of the order. He's just playing terrible baseball right now.
Over the last 3 weeks, the only one who's really hitting has been Trent Grisham. Rice
Yep.
is in a bad slump. Goldschmidt's not hitting. Bellinger's not hitting.
No,
You've got Jazz Chisholm, who's not hitting, but he does have
no.
lollipops that he brings out.
Oh, that good. If you're going to bring that, you got to bring for the whole class, Jazz. You can't just bring for yourself. But I mean, yeah, that's one of the biggest stories. That tells you how of a mess this team is. That one of the biggest stories over the last month is whether Jazz should have a lollipop in his mouth while he's in the field. I mean, come on, what are we doing, people? I mean, this is where we're at. The June swoon started a little late this year. It was a late June swoon, but it seems like they already wanted to pack up and get to the All-Star break. It really has been that feel. It's like they're just trying to crawl their way to the All-Star break, hit reset, and start in mid-July after the Midsummer Classic. But it's just they have not been playing good ball. They lost the series at home in the Bronx to the Twins, the first time since 2014. What does that tell you?
I never saw that one coming. I really didn't. The
No.
Tigers, too. I know the Tigers have some decent pitching,
Yep.
but I did not see them
No.
doing that. I told you, a week
No.
ago, this is a blip. The Red Sox sweep is a blip on the screen. They're going to be just fine. And here they are now, having lost 8 of their last 10, 4 of their last 5 series, I think it is.
Yep.
And it's the offense. There's no question about it. It is the offense. And Volpe may be the poster boy for it, but he's got a lot of help. You mentioned Wells and some of the other guys in the lineup who aren't hitting. And you're
McMahon.
wondering, how much longer till Judge comes back? How much longer until Stanton comes back, if he even does come back?
Yeah, Stanton. The last thing I read yesterday when I was getting prepped for this episode, wait, they don't even have a timetable on Stanton yet. He's doing some light running drills. That's how he hurt himself the second time when he was already on the IL. So what does that tell you? Judge is all quiet on that front. No real updates. So there's no real help on the horizon in the short term coming back for them. So it's probably going to be either they're going to be back in, let's say August, right? Or at least if everything works out, Judge will be back in August, maybe Stanton after that. So you're looking at Brian Cashman to get help from trades during, the MLB trade deadline. Catcher should be right here, relief pitcher right under that. But one of the interesting stats, and I know you love numbers, Jim. So one of the interesting stats I saw about Volpe, 1,886 at bats. He has the lowest. There's one player that's ever had this many at bats with an under 280 OPS, and that is Anthony Volpe. Do you know how hard that is to pull off a feat like that when you're the only player that it's ever been done? That says a lot right there.
Let me come to his defense for a moment, if I may, because I did some comparisons. He's 24, 25 years old?
Like 24. Right?
I found 3 players where the numbers at this age are comparable. One is Dick Schofield. He had a 14-year career. He led the American League 4 times in fielding. Not a great hitter,
Right.
but a really, really good defensive player. Alex Gonzalez had a 16-year major league career. Led the American League in fielding 1 time as well. Did not hit very well, but boy, was he a good defensive shortstop. Played with the Red Sox a couple of times along with some other teams. And speaking of the Red Sox, Rico Petrocelli. Now, he was the best hitter of the 3. He led the American League in fielding 3 times, fielding percentage 3 times. So this is 3 players. If you want to rip Volpe, and there's a lot of reasons offensively to get on the kid. We know it. And he has struggled defensively a little bit. But you look at this, Petrocelli with a 13-year career, Gonzalez with a 16-year career, Schofield with a 14-year career. It might be a little early to write Anthony Michael Volpe off at this point. Is he in need of some seasoning, perhaps at the AAA level? Would a change of scenery with another team be in his best interest? Quite possibly. And then have Caballero with 2 home runs and almost all of the offense for the Yankees in Monday night's win over Tampa Bay. And you're like, well, what do we do here?
I mean, it's almost like the Yankees, and I don't blame Boone necessarily as much as I feel like the Yankees as a whole are forcing Volpe the square peg into the round hole and saying, we're going to show you exactly what we knew the whole time. We are the smartest guys in the room. We know better than you, and we know this kid is going to work. And dang it, we are going to make it work no matter how much he struggles. We're just going to leave him in there and let him work through it. You hear Boone saying that, well, they just got to, their work guys are working through something. If I had a beer for every single time, every press conference, Boone says, well, these guys are just working through things, I would be fall down drunk perpetually because it's every Yankee fan is so sick of hearing the same things over and over. It's just like they want to force it until it works. And guess what, guys? We're pretty confident. And, we may not be the baseball specialists. They are. We're not. But you know what? He doesn't pass the eye test anymore. And how much more leash is Volpe going to get until they go, all right, well, Jose Caballero is now going to start at shortstop and we're going to send down Volpe, or we're going to sit Volpe, or we're going to do something with Volpe to get him into a hard reset or whatever, or trade him. Because you can't play shortstop for the Yankees, much like you can't play quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys without being able to perform at a high level. It's a high level position. It's New York. It's a spotlight. Yes, the stage is big, but people either succeed or they don't. And right now, it's not working. And you don't have to be a baseball lifer to see what's happening.
In Boone's defense, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm not a huge fan of him as a manager. I question his use of the bullpen every year. But in his defense as to what's going on, we do not know what is being said inside that clubhouse. We
Right.
have no idea how accountable he is trying to hold these players. We know what he says in front of the media. We get it.
Right.
We see him on with John Boy all the
Yep.
time. And I'm
100%.
surprised he doesn't lose his temper with those two
I,
because they
I
ask
would
him some
think,
tough questions.
yes,
They really do.
100%.
We see how he defends his players. And if I'm working for someone like that who I know has my back, he's might rip me in his office. But if I know he has
Right.
my back in public, I think that speaks to how I want to perform for that person. So I'll defend Boone for that. We have no idea what goes on behind the scenes in the locker room. But it's again not a good look when
No.
you're hearing the same thing over and over again. Oh, he's so close. He had some really good bats. He hit it right on the screws. He just hit it at somebody or something along those lines.
The other day, I think it was Sunday's press conference, they asked him a question about Doval. And that's another one in the Yankee fans' crosshairs right now. I mean, Doval has just been, he's another one. He needs to go work through it and not on the mound at Yankee Stadium. And, he just said, he's like, Boone started it with the preference, to preference his statement with, I know Yankee fans aren't going to want to hear this. Don't say it, Boone. Don't say but he looks really good out there. Oh, here we go again. Hey, he can't help himself. Like, he's got to defend his guys. And I give him that. I'm with you. I give him that. I give him all the props in the world for going, either in front of the press corps or on John Boy or wherever and sticking up for his guys. I give him all the credit. Stand-up guy. But at some point, you've got to know the fan base, the media, they're all seeing through it. We know you're defending them. We get it. It's not on you. But at some point, you just have to admit these guys aren't playing up to the potential or what we need them to do. They aren't succeeding. They aren't, playing up to the expectations we had for them. And Doval's the other one. Volpe, Wells, Doval's right there with him. And I think at some point, you just have to say, okay, this isn't working. We need to try something else or somebody else.
You mentioned that the Yankees are, just trying to get to the All-Star break. Well, it's about a week away, so if they can make it there and still be standing, we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe the All-Star break is the reset they need. Maybe that's at a time when they'll shuffle things. And don't look at the guy behind the curtain over here. Look over here where we're pointing you. And then all of a sudden, Austin Wells takes a trip to the IL, or gets sent down for some seasoning, and Volpe they rearrange the lineup a little bit. So we'll see what happens there. I'm curious to see how they come out of the All-Star break.
And that's the 2 Minute Drill podcast for this week. If you like what we do, tell a friend. You hate what we do, tell an enemy. Just like, subscribe, tell somebody. We're begging you. And we'll talk again next week, Chris.
You got it, Jim.